everybody in third class, a video for you today for geography. This year in geography, since Christmas, we've been looking at water environments. We talked about the difference between saltwater and freshwater environments, and we've looked in detail at rivers and then at seas and oceans. Today I want to talk to you about something a bit different. We're going to talk about the water cycle. What is the water cycle? Well, the water cycle is the name that we give to describe the way that water moves in the world. It's got two other names which are a little bit more complicated. The hydrological cycle and the H2O cycle. These slides I'm going to send you in an email so you can have a look and you can read the names yourself. But hydrological cycle and the H2O cycle. But how does water move in a cycle? Well, there are four main parts of the cycle. Part number 1, evaporation. Part number 2, condensation. Part number 3, precipitation. And part number 4, accumulation. I think that these four words you've all heard in your science lessons, but perhaps not in English. Okay, so let's go back to part number 1, evaporation. This happens when bodies of water in the world, so things like lakes, rivers, our oceans, they get hot. They heat up with the heat from the sun, and when water gets hot, what happens? When water is hot, it makes steam, water vapour. If you have a think about when you make a cup of tea, and you put on the kettle, you boil the water, and you see all the steam coming out. That is evaporation, and that's part 1. Part number 2, condensation. So condensation is the opposite of evaporation. Condensation happens when all the vapour that's in the air gets cold. When the vapour gets cold, it's transformed back into a liquid. So that's what makes clouds. If you look up in the sky, the clouds are made of the condensation of water. Precipitation. So precipitation is a long word that explains a phenomenon that we know as rain. So the water that's gone up in the sky eventually has to come back down. And it can come back down as a liquid or as a solid. So if water is falling down from the sky as a liquid, we would say rain. It's raining. If it comes down as a solid, then it would be snow. It's snowing. Last one, accumulation. So our water has got hot, it's evaporated up, it's got colder, it's fallen back down. And then what happens to all that water? Well, the water collects together in one place, perhaps in a lake, perhaps in the sea, perhaps in a puddle, but the water comes together. So I've got a question for you. After those 4 steps, what happens to the water? It's accumulated all together and then, let's see, the sun comes back up and evaporation. We're back to part 1 because it's a water cycle. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way back to 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a picture to show you what's happening. So, we've got our water here in a lake or the sea. And the heat from the sun is evaporating the water, condenses, then precipitation, and then this here is something we call runoff. So the water is running off through the earth or in a river to where it can accumulate and then all the way round again. Some fun facts for you. So it says here, the water that you drink every day is the same water that's been around since the Jurassic period. So that means the water in your cup that you're drinking, maybe millions of years ago, was drunk by dinosaurs. The sun is necessary in the water cycle. If there wasn't any sun, there would be no evaporation. And then the last one, only 2.5% of the world's water is fresh water. So we know that we've got freshwater rivers and lakes, and then we've got saltwater, oceans and seas. But only 2.5% of the world's water is fresh water, so all the rest is salty. That was our presentation for today on the water cycle. I hope it was helpful. Watch the video a couple of times, and I'm sending you some work and some projects to do that go along with it. Bye!